starts with a whisper, barely audible, a soft hiss threading through the silence of a dark room, as though the shadows themselves were trying to speak. You might think it's the wind, or your mind playing tricks. But the sound doesn't go away. It grows louder, crawling up your spine, settling behind your ears like a cold breath. Whatever you do, don't look under the bed. 15-year-old Ellie had never feared the dark. She was too practical, too logical, and much too skeptical for childish fears. Monsters, she believed, belonged in fairy tales and poorly made movies. She had outgrown her nightlight at age 9, had laughed at ghost stories by 11, and now, at 15, was more annoyed than frightened by the creaks and groans of her family's aging farmhouse. The house had been her grandmother's. A rambling two-story with slanted floors, narrow hallways, and doors that stuck in their frames. When Grandma passed away, her parents moved in to start fresh. For Ellie, the only fresh thing about it was the scent of old wood and something else, something that smelled faintly of damp earth, like a cellar that had never been aired out. Her new bedroom was at the end of the hall on the second floor, far from her parents' room. She liked the isolation, the way her floorboards whispered secrets as she walked. But there was one thing she didn't like: a bed. It was an antique, left by her grandmother, tall and heavy with carved wooden posts. Its mattress sat high above the ground, leaving a dark, yawning space underneath, just enough for something to hide. The first night she noticed it, she was lying awake, scrolling through her phone. A quiet tap-tap echoed from the floorboards beneath her. She froze, ear tilted toward the sound. It wasn't the normal creaks of the house settling. It was rhythmic, deliberate. She reached over and clicked on the lamp. The sound stopped. She shook her head and laughed at herself. "Probably a mouse," she whispered, turning off the lamp again. But the tapping resumed. Slightly louder, closer. Over the next few nights, the tapping evolved into something stranger. She began waking at precisely 3:33 a.m., her eyes snapping open without fail. Every time, the air would feel colder, heavier, and that whispering, that awful whispering would begin again. She told her parents, half expecting them to check under her bed or offer to sleep in her room. Instead, they smiled kindly, attributing her paranoia to stress from the move. Her dad even joked, "Maybe Grandma left her ghost behind to keep you company." Ellie didn't laugh. Then came the dreams. Each night she dreamed of the same figure. Long, bony limbs, black, glassy eyes, and a grin that stretched too wide across its face. Never spoke, only watched. From under the bed. In her dream, she would wake up and feel the weight of its stare. Slowly, she would lean over the side of the bed and look underneath. Always its eyes would be waiting. One night, she woke with blood smeared on her palm. Another night, her feet were filthy, as though she had walked barefoot through mud. But she hadn't left her room. She started sleeping with a lamp on. Still, the noises didn't stop. One night, the whispering became clear. A voice, raspy, low, just beneath the floorboards. "Ellie, I see you." She jumped out of bed, heart slamming in her chest, and ran to her parents' room. They groggily dismissed her, mumbling about nightmares and the need to get used to the house. Back in her room, she sat on the edge of her bed and stared at the floor. The whispering stopped. In the silence, she noticed something else. A piece of paper sticking out from under the bed. She hesitated, then reached for it, careful not to let her fingers slip into the darkness beneath. The paper was old, yellowed, edges curled. On it, in faint handwriting, was a warning. "Don't look under the bed. If you see it, it sees you too." She dropped the paper like it had burned her. Her breath quickened, and every hair on her body stood on end. That night she didn't sleep. She sat upright until morning, eyes locked on the floor. The next day, Ellie searched the house for any explanation. In the attic, behind boxes of moldy books and broken lamps, she found a leather-bound journal. The cover was cracked, but the inside was legible. It belonged to her grandmother. The entries were dated decades back, and at first they seemed normal. Daily routines, recipes, fond stories of Ellie's father as a boy. But about halfway through the tone changed. The whispers started again. Every night at 3:33. Something under the bed. I saw its eyes last night. They don't blink. I told Robert not to look, but he did. He hasn't spoken since. If you read this, burn the bed. Burn it and bury the ashes far from here. Ellie's hands trembled as she closed the book. Her grandmother hadn't died peacefully, as her parents claimed. The last page was smeared with ink, the words barely visible beneath what looked like blood. That night, Ellie refused to sleep in her room. She told her parents everything. This time they listened. Her father even carried a flashlight and a baseball bat upstairs with him. Her mother held her hand tightly, lips pursed. But when her dad got down on the floor and looked under the bed, he went completely still. "What is it?" her mother whispered. He didn't respond. "Tom?" she asked, voice rising. He slowly pulled back, his face pale and eyes glassy. "There's nothing there," he said flatly. That night, Ellie's parents insisted she sleep in their room. They locked her bedroom door and told her they'd deal with the bed tomorrow. But she didn't sleep. At 3:33 a.m., she heard it again. Not from her room. From under her parents' bed. Tap tap. Her breath caught. The whisper came next. "You shouldn't have told." Ellie turned toward her parents. Both were asleep, unmoving. She whispered, "Mom? Dad?" They didn't stir. Then she saw the edge of a shadow slowly stretching out from beneath the bed. It slithered, fluid and silent, across the floor toward her. She screamed. Her parents shot up, confused and panicked. The shadow was gone. The room was cold. Ellie sobbed and clung to her mother. In the morning, her father dragged the bed out of her room into the backyard. He doused it in gasoline and lit it on fire. They all watched in silence as the flames consumed the twisted wood, the scorched mattress curling inward like it was being sucked into itself. Ellie felt relief for the first time in weeks. That night, she slept in a sleeping bag on the living room couch, her parents nearby. She drifted into a dreamless sleep. But at exactly 3:33 a.m., her eyes opened. The room was silent. She turned on her side, comforted by the soft light of the lamp. Then she saw it. A piece of paper sticking out from beneath the couch. Slowly she reached for it, heart pounding. It was the same handwriting. "You looked. Saw you. It never leaves." The paper slipped from Ellie's fingers and fluttered to the floor like a dead leaf. Her lungs refused to take in air. She sat frozen, wide-eyed, barely able to blink. Her heart pounded against her ribs like it was trying to escape her chest. Couldn't be real. The bed was gone. The fire had destroyed everything. So why was the note back? And why was it under the couch? Her eyes darted across the living room. The shadows seemed longer now, the corners darker. Even the lamp's glow felt weaker, as if the light itself was retreating. Ellie didn't dare look under the couch. She didn't want to know. She wrapped her arms around her knees and waited for the sun to rise, praying the thing, whatever it was, hadn't moved with her. By morning she was pale, shaking, and barely able to speak. Her parents noticed. Her father tried to rationalize what happened, offering explanations like a prank, stress, even sleepwalking. But Ellie could see it in his eyes. He didn't believe a word of what he was saying. Deep down he was afraid too. That afternoon, her mother made a decision. They would leave. The house was too old, too strange, and it was clearly affecting Ellie. Maybe a hotel for a few days. Maybe move back to the city. Anything was better than watching their daughter unravel like this. They packed hastily. Ellie stayed near her mother the whole time, glancing over her shoulder whenever a shadow twitched. Her father backed the car out of the driveway and they loaded in. As the house disappeared behind them, Ellie felt a weight lift from her chest. The farther they drove, the brighter the world seemed. They checked into a small hotel on the edge of town. 2 queen beds, warm lighting, thick curtains. Or so they thought. That night they went to sleep early. Her parents lay side by side. Ellie curled up in the second bed, finally allowing herself to believe it was over. But dreams don't care about hotel rooms. In her sleep, she was back in the farmhouse. The walls were cracking, rotting, dripping with something black. Her room was darker than before. The bed stood in the center, intact, unburned. From underneath it, the figure crawled out, slowly, painfully, like its limbs didn't quite work. It didn't look at her. It just stood beside the bed and whispered in a voice that sounded like soil and smoke. "I don't need the bed. I need you." She woke up screaming. Her parents rushed to her side. The hotel manager even knocked on their door, concerned about the noise. Ellie insisted she wasn't crazy, that she had seen it again. Her mother stroked her hair and said it was just a nightmare, but she could barely hide the tremble in her voice. That morning they switched rooms. But the next night the dream returned. And this time she didn't just wake up. She woke up with long, thin scratches down her calf. 3 of them. Red. Burning. Like fingernails drawn slowly down her skin. The hotel staff searched the room for any explanation. There were no animals, no broken furniture, no sharp edges. Nothing. Her father didn't say much anymore. He looked tired, hollow. Her mother cried in the bathroom with the water running. On the 3rd night, the whispers returned. Not in a dream. Not in her mind. Loud. Ellie was awake, sitting on the edge of the hotel bed, hugging her knees when she heard it. "Look again, Ellie." The voice came from beneath the bed. She shot up, backed into the wall, and screamed for her parents. Her father crawled on his knees, shoved his head under the bed, and pulled out nothing. He stared at her for a long time. Then, almost robotically, said, "There's nothing there. Go to sleep." It was the same flat tone he'd used the night he looked under her bedroom bed. That's when she knew. Had gotten to him. Later that night, she snuck his phone and searched for anything similar. Cases, stories, legends. What she found chilled her more than anything else. Forum post. Dated back 5 years. Titled, "Don't Look Under the Bed." The story was almost identical. Whispers. 3:33 a.m. A dark figure under the bed. A warning note. Then a girl vanished. No trace. Her parents claimed she ran away, but locals whispered that her mother had gone mad and her father had been institutionalized. Ellie scrolled through the replies. One stuck out. "Once it sees you, it follows. Not just the bed. Any space under. Table. Closet. Moves. Waits. And the more you fear it, the stronger it becomes. The only way to stop it is to confront it. Confront it." She stared at the words until her eyes ached. Could she really face it? What did that even mean? That night she made a decision. She waited until her parents were asleep, then turned off every light in the room. She lay flat on the hotel floor, right beside the bed. Her heart was racing, her hands clammy. The air around her felt thicker, heavier. Smelled like damp soil again. She leaned in slowly, inch by inch, and looked under the bed. First, nothing. Just shadows. Then a black, round, chinny. Not blinking. They stared back. She didn't scream. She didn't move. The whisper came again. Close. So close it brushed her skin. "You see me now. So what will you do?" Ellie gritted her teeth. "What do you want?" Silence. Then a low, almost childlike voice whispered, "Trade." She blinked. "What?" The voice whispered, softer now. "Trade me for you. Someone else to take your place." She felt her stomach turn. "I won't." The thing began to crawl. Slowly. Inching closer. The air buzzed with static, the floor beneath her trembling slightly. "Then I take." Suddenly, her body was yanked toward the underside of the bed. She screamed, digging her nails into the carpet. Her legs were being pulled in. The world blurred. But then bright light. Her mother had turned on the lamp. The pulling stopped. Her legs dropped. The whispers faded. Ellie was sobbing, curled on the floor. Her parents stared, horrified. "I saw it. It was going to take me." The next morning her father left. Said he needed to clear his head. He never came back. They found his car abandoned on a nearby road. No signs of struggle. No tracks. Just gone. The police searched for weeks. Nothing. Back at home, Ellie and her mother stayed in a single room together. Her mother lined the bottom of every bed and couch with thick storage bins, books, anything to block the space underneath. But it didn't help. The dreams came back. Then one night the notes returned. Every morning, Ellie found them on her pillow. New warnings. New whispers. The worst one said, "I took him. You're next. Look again." Ellie was done running. She returned to the farmhouse. Her mother begged her not to, but she needed answers. The house stood quiet. Dust clung to the windows. The scorched ground where the bed had burned was still blackened. She walked up the stairs. Into her old room. Something was waiting. A faint whisper tickled her ears. "Welcome home." She sat on the floor. And waited. At 3:33 a.m. she spoke aloud. "I'm not afraid of you anymore." The room grew cold. The shadows deepened. The figure emerged. Slowly. Crawling from the corner. Not from under the bed. It looked different now. Smaller. Weaker. Ellie stood up. "You feed on fear," she said. "But I'm not giving you any more." The figure hissed. Twitched. Glitched like a broken image. She stepped forward. Retreated. One more step, and it vanished completely, leaving only the echo of a whisper behind. Another time, another bed. Ellie fell to her knees, exhausted. But she knew now. Could be banished. She left the house that night. Never returned. Years later, she sleeps on floor-level mattresses, couches pressed to walls, closets sealed shut. She warns others too. Children. Aunts. Sometimes she hears about missing people. Notes left behind. Strange dreams. And she knows the thing is still out there, waiting for someone curious enough, afraid enough to look. So she tells them all the same thing. If you hear the whisper, if you feel the cold, don't look under the bed. Ever. But deep down she knows someone always will. And when they do, it sees them.